Chicago woke up buried under a dangerous blanket of snow this morning, a powerful winter system that turned streets into skating rinks and highways into zones of chaos. The storm hit hard and fast overnight, creating conditions that made travel nearly impossible. From fierce winds to rare thundersnow, and from canceled flights to school closures, the overnight snowstorm paralyzed much of the region. By dawn, the city looked more like a frozen tundra than a bustling metropolis, with snowdrifts piling high along curbs, cars buried beneath white mounds, and the hum of plows echoing through the early hours. It all began late Sunday night, when a surge of cold air swept across Lake Michigan, feeding a storm that quickly intensified over the city. Snow began falling heavily across the Chicago area, with rates reaching over 2 inches per hour at times. Drivers who had been expecting a light dusting soon found themselves caught in near whiteout conditions, forced to pull over as visibility dropped to almost nothing. Winds gusted up to nearly 60 miles per hour offshore, blowing snow sideways and creating dangerous drifts on highways. In some places, snow reports climbed rapidly, 9.5 inches north of Valparaiso, 10 inches in Crown Point, and 12 inches in Momence, Indiana. By midnight, Chicago's skyline disappeared completely behind a curtain of white. Plow crews began their all-night battle to keep major arteries open, but the pace of the snowfall was relentless. More than 250 salt spreaders were deployed across the city's main routes, focusing on arterial streets and DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Still, they could hardly keep up. The snow was falling too fast, and the wind was blowing it right back over freshly cleared lanes. For hours, the city fought a losing battle against nature. When morning arrived, the commute turned treacherous. The National Weather Service warned that conditions would remain dangerous through mid-morning and urged residents to avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. Across Chicago and northwest Indiana, police reported dozens of spinouts, crashes, and stalled vehicles. Indiana State Police Sergeant Glenn Fifield told ABC7 that his team had already responded to more than 50 calls by dawn, a mix of stranded motorists, minor collisions, and roadside emergencies. The snow wasn't the only hazard. In some areas, bursts of grapple, tiny icy pellets, often called Dippin' Dots, accompanied the heaviest snowbands, pelting cars and windows. With temperatures stuck in the low 20s and wind chills in the teens, salt was slow to work, leaving intersections glazed with ice. Schools across the region canceled classes or announced late starts. In northwest Indiana, Crown Point, Hobart, and Valparaiso all declared snow days. Even Chicago's south side saw major slowdowns as snowplows struggled to keep up. Meteorologists explained that the storm's power came from a lake-effect snowband that formed overnight. The system funneled frigid air over the warmer waters of Lake Michigan, feeding a conveyor belt of moisture that dumped snow over the region. Snowfall rates exceeded 2 inches per hour in several places, with occasional flashes of lightning illuminating the storm, a phenomenon known as Thundersnow. By early morning, radar images showed the heaviest snow beginning to shift eastward, but not before leaving behind totals of 6 to 12 inches across much of the area. The National Weather Service warned that even as snowfall tapered off, strong winds would continue to blow snow across roads, reducing visibility to near zero in open areas. The storm's impact wasn't limited to roads. Air travel was thrown into disarray. By sunrise, more than 400 flights had been canceled at Chicago's airports. O'Hare International Airport reported over 230 cancellations and delays averaging 24 minutes, while Midway Airport had 130 cancellations with 15-minute delays on average. Combined with a recent FAA reduction in operations, the storm created one of the worst travel backlogs of the year. Passengers camped out in terminals, waiting for updates that changed by the hour. "It's like a domino effect," said one traveler trying to get to Dallas. "Every delay leads to another, and before you know it, you're stuck." Even the CTA wasn't spared. Route number 147, one of the busiest bus lines along Lakeshore Drive, was rerouted in both directions due to severe conditions near the lakefront. Transit officials advised residents to use public transportation only if absolutely necessary, as buses and trains faced delays across multiple routes. Meanwhile, the City of Chicago's Department of Streets and Sanitation issued an emergency response. Crews worked through the night, focusing first on downtown corridors and emergency routes before turning their attention to residential neighborhoods. Officials encouraged residents to stay off the roads and warned that even once plows had passed, refreezing would remain a serious concern. They also advised residents to check on elderly neighbors, shovel sidewalks, and clear drains to prevent flooding when the snow eventually melts. By dawn, city officials held a press briefing to update the public. "This is not the kind of morning to test your luck," one spokesperson said. "Stay home if you can, let plow crews do their jobs." Emergency alerts were sent to residents' phones throughout the night, reminding drivers to keep blankets, water, and flashlights in their cars in case they became stranded. As the storm began to ease, the National Weather Service downgraded the winter storm warning for central Cook County to a winter weather advisory, noting that the heaviest snow had shifted toward the east. However, warnings remained in effect for several surrounding areas: Lake and Porter counties in Indiana until 6 p.m., Lake County, Illinois until 9 a.m., and Kankakee and southern Cook counties until noon. Temperatures were expected to hover in the 20s throughout the day, with wind chills in the teens. Light snow showers were forecast to linger through Monday evening before tapering off completely. By mid-morning, the worst had passed, but the aftermath was clear. Side streets remained coated in thick snow, parked cars were trapped beneath drifts, and icy intersections turned the morning commute into a slow crawl. With the temperature expected to drop further overnight, the risk of refreezing loomed large. Residents bundled up to shovel driveways, while city crews continued plowing side routes and residential areas. Despite the chaos, there was also a familiar resilience in the air, a sense of "here we go again" that only Chicagoans truly understand. For many, it was the first major storm of the season, a preview of the long, icy months ahead. Yet amid the frustration, there was a quiet beauty to the snow-covered city. The skyline shimmered under a gray sky, the Chicago River froze at its edges, and children played in freshly fallen snow as if the city hadn't just spent the night under siege. Officials reminded everyone to prepare for continued cold, slow commutes, and potential delays through the evening. Air travelers were urged to check with airlines before heading to the airport, while drivers were cautioned to keep emergency supplies in their vehicles. The city's snowplow trackers showed non-stop movement across major arteries, a testament to the crews who worked around the clock to keep Chicago moving, even in the harshest conditions. As the sun finally broke through the cloud cover, it revealed the city transformed, quiet, white, and glistening under the winter light. Chicago may have been battered by snow, but it was far from beaten. The streets would clear, the airports would reopen, and life would go on. Because in this city, winter storms aren't just obstacles, they're traditions. And as one resident said while shoveling his driveway on the west side, "It's Chicago. Winter always wins the first round, but so do we." Chicago just faced one of its toughest nights this winter, and it's only the beginning of the season. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell to stay ahead of every storm, alert, and emergency update. Your safety starts with staying informed, so stay connected and stay prepared.